Alright, we're back for another week. Now, got my Cordial 10 cup of coffee ready to go. Today, what we're going to do, we're going to go over a little bit of gluing up a panel and a little bit of kind of putting a workbench together. Now, the combination part, I have what at one time was probably a really nice hard maple workbench top. It's about 29-30 inches wide by about 6 feet long. So it's not a real small one. Unfortunately, it was left outside for about 2 years. It was partially covered. That being said, several glue joints have let go pretty severely. I have a 1/4 inch gap here in the one of them, 1/8 inch gap there, strong 1/8 inch in this one. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to try to get a little bit of Gorilla Glue down into each one of these joints, and then I have some pretty heavy duty Jorgensen bar clamps, just like we would in the shop at school, to try to squeeze this back together. So a few things I have here. I have some of these Jorgensen bar clamps. I was planning on finishing off this bigger bottle of Gorilla Glue tonight, but unfortunately I think one of my kids might have bumped the bag. It tipped upside down, and now I have a Walmart bag glued to the baby's diaper bag. So we'll sort that out later. I'm going to have lots of time tonight, I think, because main reason we're out here again this late, I decided to do a little landscaping today, and well, there's a bush on fire in my fire pit right now because I decided I didn't want to haul it anywhere. So while that's getting taken care of, we're going to be productive and actually get this thing glued up. So I went back to the store, you know. Unfortunately, they didn't have the big bottle. So we've got this little bottle of Gorilla Glue. We're going to cross our fingers, hope it's enough. Other things I'm going to have here. Some cut-up boxes, just like I would in the shop at school when we're doing this. I really don't want this on the floor of my garage. When Gorilla Glue starts to cure, you know, it foams, it expands. Really, any glue I don't want to drip on the floor of my shop, but Gorilla Glue especially is kind of nasty and a little bit more difficult to work with. Now, I've already gone over this a little bit. I have a wet rag. It's pretty well soaked. I've been actually squeezing just a little bit of water. You don't want to go crazy with the water in these joints. I've already squeezed some in there. Normally, if I had this broken apart, you know, yeah, I would real lightly just kind of dampen the surfaces that I was going to glue. As it is, I've tried to let a little bit of water, just a little bit of water leach down in there to see if I can get a little bit extra just moisture in there. We'll see if that works. The reason for that, Gorilla Glue really activates well when the surfaces that you're gluing are slightly damp. Not soaking wet, but just slightly damp. So that hopefully will give us a little bit of help here. The other thing I have are some C-clamps. The reason I'm using these, there's a couple spots, and I'll bring the camera over here in a second, where the table's actually started to shift a little bit, so it's uneven on the top. What I'm going to try to use the clamps for is just to clamp it to flatten out this panel as much as possible, because there's no way I'm going to put this through a thickness planer or even like a wide belt sander. There are spots where there's like an old bolt in here, must be from where a vise was mounted is my guess. Who knows what other kinds of metal are in here. I know that this thing has been through, it's from the factory, it was through bolted. There's 3 bolts that stretch the width of this bench. So it's not going through a planer. If I have to do anything, I'll be taking my hand planes out and just truing up the top of this. But my goal is, as much as possible, to glue this up as flat as I can. So what I'm going to do just to start here, I have my Gorilla Glue ready. I'm actually just going to start running some beads where it's, you know, the cracks are maybe a little bit narrower. And then while that glue starts to seep down in, just with gravity, I'm going to get my clamps set up. Normally, you know, I would definitely have my clamps set up ready to go. Gorilla Glue, I do have a little bit longer open time, and this is a situation where I do want that glue to leach down through as much of the joint as possible. So I'm going to work farthest away from me to start. You know, out here doesn't look too bad. There's a couple spots in the corners. You know, you can definitely tell that moisture was able to leach in there in the time that this has sat outside. I'm not discounting the fact that I might have to try to take all the bolts and things like that out of it and actually take this to the table saw to possibly make it a little bit smaller. I know that I'm probably going to have to take the circular saw here one of these days and trim the ends up, just because you can see where there's maybe a little bit of mold in the ends of this just from it sitting for so long. I'd rather not, but it's at the point where it did sit long enough before I was really able to go and get this. Didn't know that this was happening, otherwise I'd have tried to get this one sooner. That's a little bit wider crack here. This is actually probably the worst one on the table. We're going to hope this crack actually doesn't use up this entire bottle of glue. Alright, so I have most of these ready to go. Since I'm running a little low on space right now, I'm going to start spreading some of these out where I've already got my glue kind of sitting in and curing, ready to go. And the one thing I want to do, I'm just kind of floating these just a hair off the top of the table to try to prevent as much glue from getting in there. The other thing I'm doing is I'm taking my C-clamps and I'm pretty much getting them ready. There's really only maybe 3 places that I really need to make sure that I have these clamps on to kind of level out the sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get clamping cauls, just pieces of scrap wood to lay on the top and bottom, A, to protect my clamps from getting a ton of glue on them, B, to protect the table from kind of getting crushed by some of the pressure I might put on there. But the third reason is to kind of make a level spot to kind of try to draw everything together across a wide area. Those blocks will work just fine. I'll get a little bit longer one, I think, just to make sure I have the length. Now, just going to wind that open a little bit more. There we go. And that worked perfect for what I wanted it to do. Everything feels flush. And the top of the table might be just a hair out. I actually have the table upside down right now, because it seemed like the worst cracks were actually where it was separating was underneath. Okay. These two longer, just pieces of junk maple, rough cut edge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these down on the side, just like I did with that smaller pad, only this time I'm going to use both of these C-clamps to try to help spread out a little bit of that clamping pressure to hold the bench here somewhat flat. I know I'm not going to be able to get it all out, but we're going to try our best to see what we can do here. There, right there, you can hear that creaking. That's actually that the uneven parts actually starting to get pulled even. I might actually have to get another C-clamp if I have one. Put right across there. That's actually fairly even. I know the bottom of this table was not even to start with, so that doesn't worry me so much. This is actually where I'm the most worried, is because I'm trying to clamp quite a bit of gap out of the center right there. Like I said, it's close to a 1/4 inch, and usually with something like this, it's really nice that you have these through bolts in here. Well, unfortunately, on this side, there's 3 bolts going the whole way through this bench. I only have access to one of the bolt heads down here. They covered it up with a plug, I think, and then painted over the top. And on this side, the plug came out, or I'm not sure exactly what happened. And I know from throwing a wrench on the other side that everything's just slipping in there. So right now, I'm basically just trying to clamp out as much of how this opened up on me here as possible. And from looking at it and feeling underneath, I'm guessing I'm actually going to have to flip this table over once this dries and actually try to get a little bit of glue to seep into the other side, because it really feels like certain spots the bottom isn't actually it's not actually closing up on the other side. Make sure the cap goes on this, otherwise we'll have a situation like before with something else glued to something. Now right now that actually is glued together. Unfortunately, that largest crack I have in there, it actually is shifting the top of the table off, oh, probably about 3/16 of an inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to loosen up the 3 center clamps here just slightly and see if it's possible to press this out. Kind of thinking it's not going to be, but we'll try our best here. Move the coffee, don't want to lose that. And there, if you can hear that, that's that liquid sunshine that PA's been known for lately. And I'm thinking it's a good thing I canceled my plans to celebrate that extended holiday that is spring turkey season tomorrow. All right. It actually isn't terrible. Still have a few gaps. You can hear that crunching. A little hard now that the rain started, but using my rag, I got in there, I could feel all that gap has been taken out of the larger cracks. I do have a bit of glue squeeze out, which that's a good thing. I know that I'm not glue starving these joints. I'm actually going to move this clamp just a little bit because I know that these joints down here sealed up. They weren't too loose. This one right here, I see a bit more gap. That's better. All right. So, what did we hopefully accomplish with this? Well, A, it's going to give me an extra bench top in here for one place I have a set of cabinets I need a bench top. Number two, it's probably going to mean I have a ton of hand planing work to do. I'm going to show you what I mean here. Now, first things first, you can see I clamped that right there. It's fairly even. It was quite a bit out. You can see what I mean here. It's just really ratty. Water got to it. The worst one I have here, and it doesn't look bad on camera, it's that's where the largest gap was. And it is sticking up quite a bit. It's in the middle of the table, so I really can't get a call on there to put direct pressure on there. This side is probably the worst, where just all started to, the water got to it. I'm probably going to wind up taking the circular saw, trimming that end off at least, and see where we go from there. Alright, so for now, really that's about all I can do is just let that glue sit and wait. Give it overnight, see how it looks tomorrow. Hopefully it'll look fairly decent. I'll be able to flip this over, see if I can do that by myself. I've got it up here by myself a little haphazardly, so we should be able to flip it over hopefully less haphazardly than it was gotten up here. So until tomorrow night, we'll see you then.